Well, hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to the latest of Evenbreak's Meet the Employer events. We do these on a regular basis, and the idea is that you as candidates can find out more about the employers that use the Evenbreak job board and ask any questions that you have. So please start thinking of those questions and add them to the questions box as we go through this particular event. So we have actually done this event previously a few weeks ago, and the tech went horribly wrong. So we're hoping the tech all works today. And I'm very grateful to Nicky from Channel 4 to come back with us today to do it all over again in the hope that it might work this time. So welcome, Nicky, and thank you for bearing with us.
It's a pleasure, Jane. It's lovely to be back. And yeah, thanks for those of you that bared with us last time. And if you're back to hear it all again, then that's also brilliant.
Fantastic. So thank you. So, Nicky, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey at Channel 4.
Okay, so hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. So my name is Nicky Ivory-Chapman and I head up recruitment and talent management at Channel 4, which I have to always explain that is recruiting for Channel 4 staff, for our employees, not recruiting for the talent that you see on screen. So that's somebody else's amazing job. It's not mine. But my job is finding brilliant people to work at the channel. I've been here for about 5 years, and the roles I recruit for cover everything from our entry-level schemes and our apprenticeships, work experience, all the way through to our sort of senior executives. So it's really broad, it's really varied, and Channel 4 is a pretty awesome place to work, actually. So thinking about what I might do next is a really hard decision to even think about.
Hard act to follow, definitely. And I think if we think about broadcasting particularly and disability, Channel 4 tends to be the first channel that comes to mind because of the, the sponsorship of the Paralympics and all the programming like The Last Leg and The Undateables, and you're not frightened to challenge the boundaries a little bit. So I think you're already seen as an organisation that has the courage to face disability head on rather than avoid it because it's a bit difficult and awkward.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear that. And I think, what I would like to, I guess, explain to everybody that's listening is, for those of you that might not know, is Channel 4 is actually really unique in lots of ways, but our model is very unique. Channel 4 was created in 1982, so I'm guessing there are people dialed in who weren't even born during that time, and we were created whilst we're government owned. We have to be fully self-sufficient in terms of funding ourselves. So we fund ourselves by advertising revenue. So the adverts that you see between our programs pay for us to make those programs. We don't get any money from the taxpayer or from the government. And the other very unique thing about Channel 4 is when we were created, and at the time there were only 3 other television channels that you could watch. So some of you may remember, me included, it was BBC One, BBC Two, or ITV. And when Channel 4 came along, that was terribly exciting because there was something else that you could watch. But we were given a remit to stand for certain things and to advocate for certain things. And one of those parts of our remit is to celebrate difference, to educate people, to inform people, to spark debate, to really stand up for young people and for marginalised voices. So, a lot of our programming that we do, you might not see on other channels. We're passionate about embracing and showcasing all the different parts of modern Britain, be that different ethnicities, be that different disabilities. So it's nice, Jane, for you to sort of mention that we are known, hopefully, as a channel that, I guess, pushes boundaries, and our sponsorship of the Paralympics is the highlight of our content every 4 years. It's something we're super proud of. And I think since we've been broadcasting the Paralympics in London 2012, I think we've created a platform for disabled talent to be on screen, to be front facing on screen. So the last leg came out of London 2012. And since then, yeah, we've been able to find, you know, opportunities and embrace new, diverse and disabled talent.
I think that's great. And from Evenbreak's perspective, you were the first broadcaster to come on board with us as well, which shows that you're obviously pioneering in this area. So, Nicky, you mentioned that you're not a program maker, you're a broadcaster. So, you know, some people might be watching this and thinking, oh, I'd like a job as a camera person or as a program producer, but that's not the kind of role that you'd be advertising for. Can you give us a kind of a flavour of the kind of jobs that you do have at Channel 4?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for mentioning that, because that's one thing it's really important, I guess, to get across to the listeners and the viewers, that we are probably the only broadcaster that doesn't make our own programs. So it's, again, something unique about our model is we were set up to commission content from hundreds of small production companies around the UK. Some of those production companies are now huge global production companies, but that's something that it's in government statute. We can't make our own programs, we can't own those programs. So therefore we don't have the vacancies for presenters or makeup artists or camera people, directors, etc. But what we do have, and there are about 1,000 people that work at Channel 4, so we are small, especially compared to the BBC, ITV and Sky, but we have a huge variety of roles and teams. So we split the business into 3 different areas. We have the operational area, the commercial area, and the creative area. And the operational area will include departments that you'd probably find in most organizations. So finance, technology, legal, HR, marketing, communications, etc. The commercial area, which is actually the largest part of Channel 4, because these are the people that sell our advertising space and make all the creative sponsorship and partnerships that we do with brands to help them get their message and their products advertised to our viewers. There's about 300 people that work in the commercial area, and they do a variety of roles. Some are really creative, some are selling airtime, some are looking at the analytics of their airtime, and some are plotting out what ads go where. And making sure that there is a match between the programs and the advertising we show at a particular time. And then the third area, the creative area, this is where we have our commissioners. These are the people that decide what programs we're going to invest in or commission. We have Film 4 in the creative area as well. So we don't just show films on the channel, we also get involved in developing films. So some of our films are huge Oscar winners, Slumdog Millionaire, a lot of Steve McQueen's films, a lot of Danny Boyle's films we've done. The Favourite is another sort of Oscar winning movie. The Father is another Oscar winning film that will be coming out in cinemas in the coming months. And also in the creative division, we have our own in-house creative agency called 4 Creative, and our newest department called 4 Studio, who are based up in Leeds. And this is a completely new team that are creating content that sits on our social channels. And they've done a lot of work with Rosie Jones. She had a program called Trip Hazard. If you haven't seen it, please,
absolutely loved it.
Watch it on All 4. She's amazing. She's somebody that started her career at Channel 4 behind the camera, actually on one of our schemes. and went on to have an incredible career as a comedian, and is now doing a lot of TV work. And she travels around the UK with a sort of celebrity friend, and is her normal kind of hilarious and charming self. So also in the creative division, we have our marketing team as well. So it's hugely varied, everything from data scientists to creatives and content producers, and roles that are junior level to mid-level to senior level.
So pretty much any skills you've got, there will be a job at Channel 4 that you can use them in.
Pretty much, yeah.
Almost. That's great. And also, when you first started working with us, primarily the roles were all based in London, but you've branched out from London now. So what are the kind of geographical locations you cover?
We had, so in October 2019, we made the biggest change in Channel 4's history by opening a national headquarters in Leeds, which at the moment has about 170 people working in it. We also opened a creative hub in Bristol and a creative hub in Glasgow. Bristol and Glasgow are really small. It's mostly commissioners that are based from there, because their job is to commission programs from the regions and the nations. But Leeds has pretty much every department that we have in London. So we'll have some creative people there, some operations people there, and we have some commercial people actually in Manchester. So our other location is Manchester, which is just a commercial sales office there. So we have this nice kind of spread now across the UK. We still have lots of people in London, lots of jobs in London, but we've done a lot of recruitment for Leeds in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And since COVID, are you finding that some of the roles are being done or can be done remotely, and will they continue to be done remotely?
So everybody has worked remotely in the last, since March 2020. And our plan is, when it's safe to do so and restrictions have been lifted, that people will actually do a 50-50 split between working in a building and working either from home or some other location. What we've heard from our employees is that actually people have missed being together with their team. So our plan is not to have roles that are fully remote, because actually there is a need for people to collaborate and to connect, and to actually be together to experience what it's like working in a Channel 4 building, because in normal times they're really exciting and dynamic and engaging places to work. So at the moment, people that we're hiring, we would expect to be based in one of the buildings 50% of their time and 50% from home or elsewhere.
Okay. And what about flexible working? So are all the jobs full-time, or do you have opportunities for part-time or job share or other ways of working?
Yeah, so we have part-time roles, we have quite a few job sharers. We do have, it does tend to be more females that are doing the part-time working, and that can be 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or 4 days a week. And what we look at is, if this is the right person for the job, can it be done in a more flexible way? Does it need to be a job share, or can it be done with carving up responsibilities, I guess, a little differently? So we would, always look to, if somebody wants flexibility, we'd look to make that work.
Yeah, it's good to know that you're open to that, because some organisations say, no, it's full-time, 9 to 5 or nothing. And
yeah,
if you're going to be a receptionist, you need to be, but you could still have, job share or part-time. So
that's true. And I think, this whole experience of how people have worked in the last 12 months has shown actually that people value flexibility. And I think the expectation from employees is actually more flexibility. So at the moment, our working day is 9:30 until 6 p.m. And we're looking at, does that need to be the case? The longer term aspiration is to allow people to find a way that works I guess, best for them, as long as it meets the needs of the business and the team as well. So there's a fine
collaboration, isn't it, and cooperation kind of relationship, really, two-way discussion.
There is, yeah. It's got to work for both parties. But I think the main thing is we have a flexible mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So could you talk us through your recruitment process? I mean, it might be different for different roles, but just what would a candidate expect the process to look like?
Yeah, and there are differences between roles, but broadly the steps would be very, very similar. So all of our roles are, or the vast majority of our roles are posted openly for external applicants. There will be a small number that we do for internal hires only, but that's really the minority. So everything's advertised on the Channel 4 Careers website.
And on Evenbreak.
And on all our roles are on Evenbreak. So even more important, you don't even have to go to the Channel 4 website. You can just go to Evenbreak. And we would just ask you to read through the job description, make sure it's something that you're interested in, you're passionate about. The application process would be to upload your CV and answer some specific questions that relate to that job. And this is really a chance for us to get to find out a little bit more about you, because a CV is great. It tells us a lot of information, but it doesn't always tell us everything we need to know. And often what you can't get across on a CV is why you're interested in this particular job or why you're interested in Channel 4. So there'll normally be two or three questions to answer. All applications are read by a human being. So everything's looked at. We don't use any algorithms to screen people out. Everybody is seen. Every application is seen. And the people that meet our criteria, so we offer a guaranteed interview for candidates that apply by the Disability Confidence Scheme. We're a Disability Confident Leader, and we're really proud of that. So if an application matches the criteria, which we outline on the job description, you'd be invited to participate in the interview process. And the first stage is normally done by video. And we would set some questions. And again, this is a chance for us to find out a little bit more about you and for you to tell us other things that you want us to know. So we would typically ask between 4 to 8 questions. You would record yourself answering those questions. Some people find that horrible, but after you've done it the first time, it's much, much easier. We give you a certain number of retries to do that. And we'll typically finish by asking you, tell us what else you want us to know about you. Because it's not all about us asking you questions. We want you to have the opportunity to tell us a bit about yourself. Those are all looked at by a human. And then the next stage could be a form of face-to-face interview. It could be a task. It could be an assessment day. And there'll be a series of then meetings with different people, depending on the seniority of the role and who the key relationships are with. So at the moment, we've been doing everything virtually, like most people, but we're hoping that at some point soon, we can have people back in our buildings and we can do some of the interviews face to face. But broadly speaking, it would be an application form and questions, the video interview, and then a face-to-face or live interview or some form of assessment day.
It's so reassuring to hear that human beings are involved in this, because we know there are so many organisations that are using AI, or, you know, a machine will look at their CVs before a human even sees them, and that's always a bit worrying. So that's good to hear. So if a candidate, you know, really likes the look of a job, but they're not going to be able to access that process you've just described without some adjustments, how would they go about asking for those adjustments?
Yeah, so when we post all our roles, there is a section that says, you know, if you require any adjustments, you know, please let us know. There's space for you to kind of capture that. Now, if your adjustments mean that you need support completing the actual application, then we can do that. So things we've done in the past is speak to somebody over the telephone and capture the data. If somebody needs an interpreter or a lovely signer, as we have here, we can find a way to support that person through the process. So we will always offer reasonable adjustments for any candidate that wants to apply or participate in the interview process.
And do we have reassurance that asking for adjustments isn't going to adversely affect anybody's chances to get a job?
No, not at all. It's something we're really proud to commit to, and it's about making people feel comfortable throughout that process. So we'll always do what we can.
I mean, I hope the fact that you advertise on Evenbreak, that you're here now, demonstrates that actually you're looking for talented disabled candidates. You're not looking for reasons to exclude them. You're looking for reasons to find us. So, yeah. Which is always very, very encouraging. Yeah, no, that's great. So what advice would you give to any of our candidates that are watching this now who would really want to shine? What do they have to do to really kind of shine in the recruitment process so that you can, really see that they're the right person for you?
Yeah. That's such a great question, and I kind of love answering this question, because although we will be asking you questions and we want to see a CV, one of the key, or what's equally as important as having the right sort of skills or experience, is having passion and interest. So we want people that understand what Channel 4 is about and why we're different. So, and I say this for any organisation or any jobs you're applying for, please do some research, because it's that which can often make you stand out. If you're showing a real passion for the organisation, why they exist, their values, their purpose, if you can weave that into your answers, or if you're getting the chance to do a cover letter, for example, that's super, super important. And that's often if you've got two people that have got a very similar career history or very similar levels of experience or qualifications, it's going to be the person that demonstrates the passion and the interest if you had to choose between those two people. And the other advice I'd say is, read the job description in detail several times, and try and tailor your answers to match what is required in that job description. I know it's really hard when you're job hunting, and I've done it myself. You're uploading your CV, and it's really tiring sometimes to tailor it to each individual job. But actually it can make all the difference if you're looking at what's needed and just doing little tweaks to highlight some of the areas that are mentioned on the job description. And a sort of third thing, which is also equally important, is try and get some personality across, particularly for an organisation. Most media companies, we want to find out about the person as much as their skills. So, particularly doing the video interview, which a lot of people, especially people of my age, tend to dislike. A lot of when I'm doing it for apprentices, they don't care. They're like, yeah, we do this all the time. We talk to camera. They're much used to whether it's doing TikTok videos or whatever. But it's a great way to get your personality across. So tell us what interests you. Tell us what you're passionate about. What do you do if you've got any free time? All of these things are just a great way for organisations to see, is this person going to thrive in this organisation? Because actually that's what we're looking for, is people that are going to enjoy working in this environment. Not every environment is right for every person. I'd probably be terrible in financial services or a law firm. So it's about and that's not a bad thing about them or about me. It's just about trying to find what's the best organisation where they're going to thrive.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend, Nicky Graham, and he said to me when he worked for Channel 4, is that it's the first time I haven't felt like the odd one out, because it's so diverse here that actually if you're not different, you're a bit weird. And actually that's lovely. I loved hearing that, because what it meant was you can actually go there and be yourself. You don't have to mask, you don't have to pretend to be, you know, conforming with everybody else. Actually, the fact that somebody is a little bit different is a bonus rather than something to be, you know, hidden or ashamed of. I think that's a lovely thing to say about Channel 4. Just makes me feel that people can thrive there without having to pretend they're someone that they're not.
Yeah, and that's so lovely to hear. And I would love all organisations to embrace that, rather
Only,
than
yeah.
putting people in a you've got to dress in a certain way. I just love us to get to a place where, when I first started working here, you know, there was a guy on one of the floors I used to walk past to get to my desk who never wore shoes. And initially I was like, oh, this person doesn't wear shoes. And then I realized, well, you know, that's just how he wants to be at work. And I thought that was wonderful. So people's personalities and their quirks are what makes people interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's all the questions from me, but from anybody who's listening, if you have any questions, pop them in the questions box, and I'll ask Nicky. We've got a couple to be going on with. So this is the first question from Karen. I live near Salford Media City, so she's in Manchester. That's good news. Former BBC and ITV experience. Could she send a CV direct, and which email address? I mean, would you prefer people to apply through the usual channels, or is there an option for Evenbreak candidates to perhaps get in touch with you directly?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to accept a CV. I think my only worry is we've got to make sure that one, there's a sort of a GDPR element as well. So when we collect your data in our system, it gets anonymized after 6 months. If it comes to me, and it might end up in the on my plethora of files. If I didn't delete it after 6 months, I might be in trouble. So I would say certainly, you know, you can get in touch with me directly, but I would then, if we had a job that was right for you, I would then need you to complete that consistent application form, providing you were able to, just so that we get everybody to go through that similar process. But yeah, I'm sort of more than happy, Jane, for you to sort of share my details with the people that have asked for them.
That's fantastic. And then another question is, do you have any disability training schemes like the BBC Extend programme, etc.?
So the one thing that we have that we do each year is our production training scheme. So Jane sort of mentioned at the start that we don't make our own programmes, but actually we have a responsibility to help the industry become more diverse, because actually television production is probably way behind where it should be in terms of representation, and that's not just from a disability point of view, it's across all protected characteristics, quite frankly. So what we did is we because we're not for profit, we can do kind of cool stuff like this, is we recruit up to 20 people a year who we then co-fund to go and work in independent production companies as researchers or production coordinators. And that's open to everybody regardless of backgrounds. But each Paralympic year, we ring fence all of those places for disabled candidates only, because we really need to diversify people working in the production sector. In terms of schemes working at Channel 4, we haven't got anything that is ring fenced for disabled candidates. Everything is open to anybody to apply. But it is something that we will be continuing to look at, to see whether we do need to do a positive action scheme, I guess, to increase representation.
I remember a while ago you had an apprenticeship scheme where you ring-fenced some of the apprenticeship places for disabled candidates.
We did, yes. We had half of 50% of places were for disabled candidates, and I think that's something that we will look at going forwards, if that's the right thing that we need to do to address any imbalances, for sure.
Yeah, that's good to know that you're thinking about it. So we have a question from Linnell, who's asking, does Channel 4 offer flexible working? We've sort of covered that.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we've got every employee has the right to request flexible working. I think there's a qualifying period in line with sort of the law, but yeah, it's law now that any person can request of their employer flexible working, and every request is evaluated, and it's about, I guess, meeting the needs of can we make it work that meets the needs of the business, the team, and the individual. But we have quite a lot of flexible working arrangements.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And then a question here from Daniel. I'm a computer science graduate, and looking at the Channel 4 website, there's only one job defined at the minute under tech category. Are there likely to be roles that will suit me at any point?
Yes, and I would say if you've done computer science, if I had children, this is what I would be encouraging them to do, because there is, it's a growth area. There will be, with our jobs, they get posted for 2 weeks at a time. So whilst you might only see at the moment one tech job, there might be another one going on tomorrow, or it might be next week. So I would say, keep your eyes open for things. Our tech team is pretty sizable. Our data science team is growing rapidly, because actually computer science, data, analytics are huge growth areas, not just for us, but actually it's a very competitive skill set. So, it is they are some of the roles that are harder to fill for us. So I'm actually encouraging more people to go and study those subjects at university, because hopefully, I think it was Daniel that asked the question, you should be able to find a job, because there is a skill set that is in need by most organisations.
Yeah, definitely. And just to remind Daniel that you can set up job alerts on Evenbreak. So if there isn't a job at the moment that suits your requirements, you can set up a job alert, so you'll be informed when jobs come up that meet your criteria. And then we have a question from, this is a very popular session, isn't it? Lovely. From Emma, who is asking, how flexible is the 50-50 working pattern for remote versus in the office? She says, I'm a blogger and content creator outside of work roles, so I'm very interested in creative stuff and writing, like say for 4 Studio, but is Birmingham based, so quite a distance from any of your offices.
Okay, it's a really great question. And I think so at the moment, this is something where it's at the moment it will be going into trial in September, like this 50-50 split, because we've gone from being 100% from home to what is the right mix from us. So, I can't hand on heart say that it will stay at 50-50. It's a trial. We've got to see what works for people and what works for the organisation. I think with your skills, if you're looking at doing content creation, there might be more freelance opportunities available potentially. So, it might not be that you want to move into a sort of a 5 days a week what's classed as a permanent role, that there might be other opportunities for you to be able to do your content creation, because this is another growth area, I would say, for sure, not just again for us, but for other broadcasters. It's how do we engage with the younger audiences, because a lot of them are not watching television the way I watch television at all. So it's how do we get content that resonates with young people and put that content in places where they want to watch that content. So, we've got deals with all the social media channels, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So there could be a whole load of new opportunities coming out that I don't even know about yet. Or the jobs in 4 Studio, for example, didn't exist. Most of them didn't exist 12 months ago. So it's an ever-changing.
Yeah, I'm ancient and I've only recently understood that TikTok is a thing. But we've got younger team members that you look at that for us then, because it's a bit beyond me. So that's good to know. And presumably if you had, well, I shouldn't make assumptions, but if you had exactly the right candidate that had everything you were looking for, but they needed adjustments which were working remotely, it's not something you would discount. It's something you would look at.
No, it's not something that somebody would be discounted during the application process for.
So it's always worth trying, isn't it? And then having that discussion. No, that sounds really good. And then we have Hussein, who is asking, he says, hi, I'm a cybersecurity master's student based in Chorlton, Manchester again, good. Do you have placements for mature students, perhaps part-time or evenings? And he also says such a positive presentation. Thank you.
Oh, I love that. And well done for going again. This is another growth area, right? So,
yeah.
For any of you that have got maybe family members or friends or people who are looking at what should my young person get into, cybersecurity is another growth area. So we've actually recently hired a cybersecurity expert who's going to be based in Leeds. So our team is only 2 people. We've got 1 in London and 1 in Leeds. So at the moment, we don't have any placement opportunities within that team because it's quite small. We do have an apprentice that's recently joined that team, but it's certainly something that we can look at. So at the moment, I can't give you any certainties, but it is another growth area. So we could well have opportunities in the future.
Sounds great. And then is Channel 4 News separate or is it part of what you do?
So Channel 4 News is actually produced by ITN. So ITN produce the news they did actually Channel 5, they do ITV, they do our news. So Channel 4 News are based at the ITN building, which is in Holborn. But Jon Snow and Krishnan are actually Channel 4 employees. So the rest of the news team are employed by ITN, but they create Channel 4 News. So that's sort of an odd answer. It kind of is and it kind of isn't. But if you wanted to work on Channel 4 News, you would be an employee of ITN.
Okay, that's good to know. Oh, and do you offer, this is from Jonathan, easy read job ads? It's something we've thought about a lot, to be honest, at Evenbreak, that the adverts that we have on our job board, I can't think of ever a time where we've had an easy read job advert, but maybe we should be thinking about that.
No, and we don't. And actually, thanks for raising that. So, Jane, it would be maybe good for us to have a chat about that because I don't know enough about it or what it would involve to implement it. So, thank you for putting that on my radar.
Yeah, that's great. I was just about to say that's all. A quick question just come in. In the past, you also had a work experience scheme for disabled lawyers. Jane, yes, and law student. Hi, Jane. Run with the Lawyers with the Disabilities Division of the Law Society. Will you be running this again? It was really popular and candidates found it really useful. I've been doing some work with the Law Society on work with disabled people within the legal profession. So yeah, I don't know about that work experience scheme. But
how long ago was that? I think it was in my time. Would it have maybe been about 4 years ago?
I'm waiting for Jane to reply.
Jane, if you
can. Jane Burton, she's the chair. Yes, it was about 4 or 5 years ago.
I do vaguely remember it, and I think I don't think we've done anything since. But maybe it's something that I need to broach with the legal guys, and maybe we could look at running that again. If Jane, would you mind when you've got time, maybe just popping me over, like doing a little intro or something?
Yeah, sure. Because I know that they're doing a lot of work in the Law Society about, disability within the legal profession. So yeah, that would be great. I'll send you an email introduction.
Thank you for the reminder of that. So yeah, I do remember it now. So maybe it's probably time for a revisit.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think that's all the questions, but I just wondered, just from me, one last question. You're someone with lived experience of disability. What would you say to disabled candidates about working at Channel 4 and it being a place where you can thrive?
Yeah, and this is probably the only time. So I have a visual impairment, and it's something that I'd never disclosed to an employer until I'd been there for quite a while and said, oh, by the way, like I'm never going to be able to drive and I'm never going to be able to do this and this and this. And by the way, can somebody help me with all these colours on a bar chart? Because they all just look a mishmash of grey to me. But it was actually when I was going through the Channel 4 process and I got contacted by the occupational health here, saying, you know, what support do you need? If you're offered a role, do you need any adjustments to your, you know, my tech kit? And I'd never been asked that before. And I thought, well, this is wonderful, because now I can say, instead of hunching over a laptop, I'm going to say, actually, like, I struggle with my vision. And they were so brilliant. But I mean, that was, you know, I was in my 40s when that happened. So it took me a very long time to feel comfortable talking about my impairment. And I think the world has moved on a lot, actually, in recent years. I think now most responsible employers have a really different view about embracing people's difference and impairment. So I would say, you know, please be honest and open about what support you need, because there's nothing worse than sort of trying to struggle through a process, or struggle through, when you're an employee, trying to hide something that's an
So
intrinsic.
many people do that, don't they? And it just, you can't thrive in an environment while you're pretending to be somebody you're not, or having to mask, or struggling with something that just doesn't work for you. It's great to know that people don't need to do that at Channel 4.
No, they definitely don't. And yeah, we've got an amazing staff network called For Purple, who are there as a support for all our employees who have a disability and those who don't. So they're there as an education piece as well, to help our, you know, if we've got leaders or managers or other employees, we do loads of events to help educate people and get people comfortable with disability, actually, because again, some people still find having a conversation quite awkward. More so, I think there is a generational difference. You know, what I see now when I'm recruiting for whether it's apprentices or more junior roles where the demographic might be younger, they are much more open at disclosing, like so much more than people of maybe like my age. So I think we're seeing a shift, like a positive.
And hopefully then over time, as us old fogies move on, and the and the new one, you know, it will become an everyday conversation, like the weather, or, you know, what was on Channel 4 News last night, or whatever it might be. And then it doesn't become the elephant in the room anymore. It just becomes another difference, like height, or where you live, or, you know, all the rest of it.
I totally believe that, from what I see in the conversations that some of the sort of younger generations have, and the way, the openness they have to talk about their needs and the support they require, that things will change. I've got every faith in that.
Yeah, I have too. I feel quite optimistic about the future. I think the younger generation have got a lot to offer, and a lot we can learn from. So thanks very much, Nicky, for your time here today. To people who are listening, thank you very much for being here as well. And as you know, the Hive, the Career Hive from Evenbreak, is open to anybody who considers themselves to be disabled and is looking for work. So whether that's looking for resources, or signposting to other organisations or events like this, you know, we're here for you. And the whole ethos behind the Hive is that it's co-produced, so it's built with disabled people and for disabled people. So it's not us assuming what you need. We very much want your feedback, so we can hear what you like about what we're doing, what you don't like about what we're doing, so we can continue to improve, you know, over the years. And we're on a continuous improvement. You know, we're never going to get there and say, that's it, we're good enough. We're always going to be trying to improve. So I'm going to introduce you to Toby, who's going to show you the feedback form for this session. And we'd be really grateful if you completed it, because without your feedback, you know, we won't know what we're doing well or what we're doing not so well. So I'm just going to say a final thank you to Nicky, and then I'm going to hand over to Toby.
Pleasure as always, Jane, and thanks for those of you that tuned in, and it's been lovely to speak to you all.
Thank you.
Bill, so I've just launched the feedback and the Zoom poll, so it'd be lovely for everyone to just add their, you know, questions, and we go from there, really. Thank you.
There's literally only 5 questions. It will take seconds.
Literally, it would take seconds. So
really,
yeah.
Well, if you just, you know, took the time to do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. But thanks to Carleen for the wonderful BSL interpretation, and thanks for Orla, who is behind the scenes but is doing live captioning. So I hope this was much more accessible than the previous session we did, Nikki, where it all went a bit pear-shaped, and that everybody's been able to access it. And it's also been recorded, so it will be available on the Hive if you want to, see it again, and all of that kind of stuff. We've just had feedback saying they can't submit the feedback.
No.
Oh, and I've got a fire alarm going on in the background.
Oh dear. I'm not too sure why some people may not be able to submit the feedback.
If not, James, we'll send it by email, and then perhaps you could do it then. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
But if everybody else has had time, that's great. So thanks very much. See you on the Hive. See you soon, Nikki. And thanks for being here.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.